as I come a little bit more around the corner, there they are. 2 porta potties. The only thing missing was the glorious ray of sunshine and the playing of harps, you know?
Running with Maverick and Wolfman. Maverick here.
Wolfman here. We have an exciting show as always today. But before we get to that, make sure you find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, the big one, YouTube. When you find us on YouTube, please consider subscribing so we can keep bringing great stuff like this to great people like you.
All right. The Jim Thorpe Marathon. You just ran it. Let's get into it.
Jim Thorpe Marathon. I did.
First of all, what time did you wake up at?
3:45 in the AM, thereabouts.
Now, why? Why?
Yeah. So part of the fueling that I've been doing is with that Morton, and to use the bicarb, which is basically sodium bicarbonate, you can't do that on an empty stomach. So they suggest either a full meal or a snack, but it has to be a certain time frame before you ingest the bicarbonate, so that you don't have stomach issues. So they have a calculator, a planner for you that you use. So based on when I wanted to run, it told me when I should take that, and then it suggests when you should eat a meal. The time frame they suggested for when I was going to start my marathon was ingesting the bicarbonate by like 5:30. So to do that, they suggested you eat your meal somewhere between 3:45 and 4:45. So I picked 3:45. Figured that gave me enough time to get around, get my breakfast around, and eat it by like 4ish.
All right,
Science.
and then so the marathon started at what time?
7:15. Well, actually, they had it
7.
was unique. They had 2 starts. I started at 7:15, but you could take the train in, that train ride from Jim Thorpe. If you did that, the start time was 8 o'clock. So they offered both times, and you could really start any time between the two. But I chose to start with at 7:15. The director said that's when most people started the race, so that's what I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there was a good amount of people starting at the same time then?
Yeah, actually, when I first got there, of course, my Uber was early, and so nobody was there. And there were a couple cars that pulled in, and then another car pulled in, a guy got out, and then all these people left. So I got up and started walking away, and then a woman with a shirt that said race director was there, and I said, "Is this where the start is?" And she's like, "Yeah, you're good. You just can't park in here. This is where we're starting." And I was like, "Oh, all right." So then a lot more people came after that.
They say your Uber was early because it was so early.
Probably, honestly, because when you look at it, it's like, oh, it takes about a half hour to get there, but not at 5:30 in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no traffic on a
Yeah,
weekend. Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
yeah, right. 30 minutes is normal. It takes like 15 when there's nothing in their way.
And that was probably about how long it took. Yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't very
yep.
long at all.
Uh, so and you had to modify your pre-race meal, right?
I did. So I knew that the Dunkin' Donuts that was closest was not going to be open at that time because I, you know, planned ahead of time. So when we got done with dinner and stuff with you guys on the way back to the hotel, we stopped at the Dunkin' Donuts and I ordered my sandwich. And they're like, okay. And they get around to making it and everything. And the one guy's like, we don't have any croissants. Would you like something else? And I was like, if I'd known that, I would have gotten a completely different sandwich.
Right, right. It's not the
So I
same.
went, it's not the same. So I went with a bagel. And then because of the earliness of it, I got two sandwiches, which I probably didn't need to do, but I did. Um, so I did not have my sausage, egg, and cheese croissant. So
Yeah, it's something else.
I had something else. I'm gonna say it jinxed me.
So so it worked out initially, right? So the coffee and the bagel sandwich worked out to start with.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
So
I
you
think it
felt
worked.
pretty normal,
Yeah, I felt pretty normal for most of it.
not
Yeah.
hungry, which is
No,
your goal. We know that's your
exactly.
goal, not to be hungry. So you were good,
That is the
running mile
goal.
after mile.
Yep.
And what was the race like? Was it up and down hills? Was it trails? What was it like?
So it was on a rail trail, which you know, they. I feel like there's a little bit of variety to them, but this particular one was that crushed limestone, where it's real packed down. Um, it was pretty good. It was mostly downhill. It had some slight rollers in it, but nothing that you were like, "Oh man, that uphill was killer." And it was like that pretty much most of the way. Um,
To
they had
you,
an,
that's what you said, but to other people, they're probably like, "Yeah, man, that was tough."
oh, they could have been. There was an odd at the start. You actually went in the opposite direction, turned around, and came back through the start, and then kept going down toward Jim Thorpe, which I thought was interesting because it made up like a mile and a half. Um, must be that's just the best starting point at that point, um, that they do it that way. So that was kind of interesting. There was like a U turn basically, um, you know, shortly after a mile where everybody's just kind of whoop and turning around and then going the
Oh,
other way. So that was
yeah,
kind of interesting. Um, and then we got back to the original parking lot, went out of it onto the main road, and then back in and onto the trail. Once you were done with those turns, I don't know that there was another turn the rest of the way. I mean the
oh,
curves, but not a turn. So that was nice.
yeah. And did you have a lot of people around you, or were you running pretty much by yourself?
I got stuck in no man's land a little bit, and then eventually, I can't remember if they caught up to me or I caught up to them. There was a group of three people, two guys and a woman, and we ran probably a good chunk of the middle of the race together. Because I kept telling myself, no matter what, nowhere before 20 miles am I deviating from the plan, no matter how good I feel. Kind of like Lori and Gary had talked about, like you want to reserve yourself in the marathon. And I really don't do a great job at that. So I was really fighting the temptation because I felt good. I was getting stuck in no man's land. And I had to keep telling myself, let that guy go. He'll come back to you later. Um, and then once they caught up to me, just from the conversation they were having, I knew how I felt, what my splits were, what they were trying to do, what their splits were, that we could feed off each other for a good chunk of the race and stay on pace without letting ourselves get out of control. So that's what we did. Um, and then eventually it was just me and the one guy. And then he dropped back. And I was back in no man's land for a little while. But
So
it wasn't overly crowded. It was a nice crowd. Um, and I had like for the size of the trail, the four of us, that was a nice sized group to have in the race.
okay.
Yeah.
So then how'd you finish up?
So after that guy dropped off, and I was in no man's land by myself, I was feeling pretty good. And then somewhere around mile 23 or so, I got that like wave in your gut and that hot feeling where you're like, oh no, you know? Um, so and I mean, it slowed me way down. And I'm like starting to have to make decisions here, you know? I was pretty sure I had toilet paper, and there was a ravine, not a ravine, there was a bank. I thought I might have to go over that bank, and if I don't have toilet paper, I am wearing a bandana, but I do like this bandana. I have socks on, but I don't want to get rid of my socks. And then I thought I might be able to make it a little more, and I kept going, and I'm like, oh no, this is happening. And then I come around a turn around mile 24, and there was like a police officer that pulled off into like a parking area, and I thought, oh, there's a parking area, there might be a porta potty. I
Yeah,
could run down in there and find out. But then if I don't find one, now I'm in trouble, and there's an officer there. That's bad.
yeah.
So as I come a little bit more around the corner, there they are, two porta potties. The only thing missing was the glorious ray of sunshine and the playing of harps, you know? And I V-lined it straight toward it, took off my fuel belt, threw it on the ground in front of the porta potty, went in, and took care of business.
It's the
And
worst place to put that.
oh, that was there at the perfect place. Came out, threw the belt back on, started running again. Some guy was like, I forget what he said to me, but something about if I was doing the full, and I was like, yeah, doing the full. And then up ahead of me, I saw the woman I had been running with and the guy that I had been running with. So I knew if they were still on pace, if I could get back up to pace, I might still be able to finish in under 3 hours. Um, I eventually caught the guy, and I was on a pretty good clip. And then I don't think I did end up catching her. Um, but man, I hammered that last mile and a quarter almost, that last mile point two. And I unofficially finished in 3 hours and 5 seconds. Officially, I finished in 3 hours and 1 minute and 16 seconds. So I just missed it. But we've talked about this on the show before. Um, Stopping and sacrificing my goal, even though it wouldn't have been a PR, totally worth it. I would have stopped again if it happened tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
no
yeah,
question.
yeah.
And
I have to agree with you on that.
I told Lori that, and she said, "Yeah, because it's totally the right choice because memes last forever."
Oh man, yeah. 3 hours is a long run, man.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a long run. So how many packs did you ingest during that 3 hours?
I carried six, um, two, four regular ones, and two with caffeine in them. And I was supposed to take the last one at mile 24, but when that wave hit me, I was like, I'm not ingesting anything else. And I did still have some Gatorade, so I finished that off.
Yeah.
Um, so I think my thing carries 16 ounces of Gatorade. So I had 16 ounces of Gatorade and five Morton gel packs,
Okay.
and that worked out really good. I mean, other than that, I felt pretty good.
Okay.
So,
So when you drank the Gatorade, did you actually like drink it, or is it when we did that 10 miler where it's like missing half of you?
well, no, I actually drink because the flasks have a nice little nozzle on top,
Yeah.
um, so it doesn't spill or anything. I just take it out of my fuel belt and
Yeah.
squeeze it in there and put it back in the fuel belt.
Probably should have done that for the 10 miler.
Yeah, well, this was the first race I've carried my own fuel belt, and I did that.
Oh.
If you remember from Wine Glass, um, a lot of the early fuel stations, I'm sure the mix was mostly water, so it wasn't mixed properly. So you were getting
Uh,
none of the electrolytes or the carbs or any of that stuff.
yeah,
Um, and it was another one I wasn't familiar with, and I didn't want that to happen again. So I carried my own fuel belt, which I don't typically do.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
but
So, let me ask you this: you qualified for Boston, right?
I qualified for Boston.
What place did you get,
I was 40th overall,
and what place your age group?
third in my age group. So that's the
Nice,
first time I won a award at a marathon. So that was pretty cool.
nice.
And originally, um, I checked the results, and I was second or third in the Masters division, like all the 40 and ups.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh wow, I'm in second right now. As long as nobody in that second wave was faster than me, I just got second place in the Masters. So that was pretty cool. And
yeah.
then the director, a few minutes later, made an announcement and announced me as the third place Masters winner,
Uh
which
huh.
I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Only one guy knocked me out or whatever. So I went up to get my award, and the woman handed me the age group runner up award. And I got looking at it, and I was like, oh, I just want to make sure this is right. I don't want to take somebody else's award. And by that time, I was third in my age group. And so I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm not too concerned about it, but I don't want to take the wrong award. And then so she talked to the race director. Well, he didn't wait for all of the second wave to finish. So I guess he did some math in his head and he figured he had to wait like 10, 15 more minutes. Um, so he, appreciated me handing it back, and he was like, he announced that we're waiting to do the age group awards and the Masters awards. And when he called me again, I was third in my age group, but we have a video of myself being announced for third Masters, and
I was gonna, I was gonna say, no, no, no. I won that.
I didn't, I didn't post it, but my wife and I were joking that later on we can watch it and be like, oh, see that I did win Masters,
That's it. Did awesome.
right?
That's funny. So
Yeah.
next year, think you go back and win the whole thing?
Next year, the whole thing, the guy that won ran a 2:23,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
which I'd like to. I mean, I'd love to do that, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do next. I mean, I'm going to do wine glass next. I haven't set goals or anything yet. I'm going to use this week to kind of relax and wind down, and maybe toward the end of the week start setting the goals for wine glass. But I think if I went back, I would try to win the Masters.
Okay.
Definitely. I didn't look up what that was this year. Last year, I think it was a 251. The winner of the Masters,
Hmm.
um, which I
What
think
about
I could do.
Boston?
Boston. I would
You
love to do
qualified.
Boston again. What's that?
You qualified.
I know. I think I do want to do a spring marathon. Um, and I mean, I have time to think about it because I don't think you can even register for next year's Boston until September sometime. Um, so it's on the list, but I might look at doing one I haven't done before. But we'll see. We'll see. Because I definitely want to
Okay.
do another Boston before I hang up my running shoes. Um, but I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. That's
Yeah.
it. We'll see. Well, great job. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
All
Thank
the
you.
hard work paid off.
Yeah, it did. I'm happy.
The the fueling, all of it.
The fueling. I think Lori's absolutely right. That was the way to go and something to fix because it definitely made a big difference.
Awesome.
So
Way to go, Lori.
yeah, thanks, Lori. Thanks for the advice.
All right. Why don't we wrap it up there and not do the questions tonight? Let's do the questions a different episode.
That sounds good. We can't
All
wrap it up
right.
there though. We gotta say a happy birthday to you,
Oh, jeez.
to this guy. His birthday. Another recording on his birthday. I think he plans it that way.
This is how it is. Can't get away from it. Well, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
And once again, well done. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
And thank you, everybody, for all the encouraging words and the well wishes and all that. I appreciate it. I really do.
And that wraps up the Jim Thorpe Marathon
Yes,
and
sir.
next year's future champion.
Maybe Masters.
Didn't put that in there. Maverick and Wolfman running out.